Okay, boomer.
Whatever you say, boomer. Okay, boomer.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to ReddX, your source for the freshest daily cringe content anywhere on the internet. Promise, swearsies, it's just a fact, and it's totally science. Go ahead and look it up. Today we're diving into RPG horror stories. This is our second video for the day. If you missed the first one, it's a delicious Neckbeard story. You should go check it out. Today, we're talking about GMs, all right? I've been relatively lucky with my D&D experiences and had good DMs basically every single time, but that is not always the case, and sometimes it's not the DM who has to rein the players in, it's the other way around, which seems like an interesting concept, at least to me. So I basically ran into the subreddit, grabbed a bunch of stories with DM in the title. They might be of varying quality because I don't really vet things too hard before I read them, but I'll give my thoughts between the stories, and we'll just keep it going until I decide the video's finished, as we do around here. But first things first, let's go ahead, we'll get some plugs and disclaimers out of the way, and then we will dive right into some r/RPG horror stories cringe. Great friend, good player, terrible DM. Yeah, that's probably the description that I would have. I have no idea what I would do if I was stuck as the DM. I'm currently playing a homebrewed Tyranny of Dragons campaign that is run by my best friend. He also plays in a homebrew campaign that I run. We have been friends for years and have played through one campaign together. That campaign he started as a good player, but then suddenly shifted into that guy. In my current campaign, we had a long discussion after session 0, and he's been a great player so far. His DMing is terrible though. Like, just following the module would be 1,000,000 times better. Alright, sounds juicy. Tell me more. Some examples. I put silence around a grappled spellcaster one time, and he pulled his phone out and Googled spells that work in silence. He ignores spells that we have. If someone casts detect magic, he will state that, we see so much magic, we can't pinpoint it or tell what school it's from. We found some boxes with strange glyphs on them that we can't open. So someone used comprehend languages, and he said, glyphs are the language. We asked if they were sigils or something similar. We were told that he has a very specific question in mind, and that is the only way to learn about these glyphs. He straight admitted to fudging rolls to hit my high AC character. He didn't take the time to understand balancing, and gave away +2 weapons at level 2. And the only reason that they weren't +3 was that someone said that seemed kinda broken. One player character started with 4 feats. I have goggles of night, and when we were in a dark room, he stated everything stayed 60 feet away. We put a light cantrip on a crossbow bolt and shot into the darkness, and he said we saw nothing, just heard some stuff scattering. We came across a rival party of adventurers, and I asked if we could tell anything about them. Like, was one in armor or one carrying a staff? And he said, you just see adventurers. I asked for their leader's name, and I was told to name them if I wanted them to have names. Necromancy books that can possess you are everywhere. One of the other player characters is a curious knowledge seeker, and he finds them constantly. Like, you couldn't look at a magazine stand, because the Book of Vile Darkness is most likely just sitting in there among issues of Vogue. Whenever we try to assert our agency, we get punished. He said he wanted to do a time skip. When we came to a session, 1.5 years had passed. That's fine, but what were our player characters doing? We one time sat in a cave waiting on another group to start an attack. He rolled a d20 and asked if we were still waiting. We were then informed that magically 16 hours had passed. This had turned into a long rant, but I guess I just needed to vent. He's a great person, but a terrible DM. I've talked to him about it, but I get brushed off. The other players are equally frustrated, but less willing to voice their opinions, and I'm worried that this game is going to crash and burn, but at the same time, I'll be kinda happy that I won't have to feel obligated to go anymore. I started to leave it a while ago, and he told me that it would be the end of the game if I left. I mean, if he's not willing to take feedback, then yeah, why not just leave the session behind? I understand that he's your friend and stuff like that, but if you weren't having fun playing the game, then what's the point of playing the game, right? It's ridiculous to be like, oh, he's my friend, I have to go. No, nobody's having fun. Just give up on it. Especially since he seems so unwilling to cooperate with his players, which is what D&D is about, you know? You're the dungeon master, you're supposed to guide the players, but really you guys are on the same team. Everybody's here to have a good time, right? Maybe ask him out of character, or not even out of character. Ask him friend to friend if there is a reason for all the things that he's doing, you know? The detect magic, okay, you don't want to reveal the big bad warlock too early or something like that. Maybe that's also why there's a bunch of necromancy books hanging around. I'm also not even against fudging rolls here and there if it keeps the story going, you know what I mean? At least gives some sense of struggle and adventure. But yeah, the point is there has to be a purpose behind it. If you're just running around like a chicken with your head cut off, nobody's having a fun time. So leave the session behind, let him be a player and perform the role that he's best at rather than, you know, maybe he shoved himself into the DM role to try and get better, but he's not going to get better if he doesn't take any feedback. So, okay, you're relegated to a player, lifelong player. That's fine. I'm a lifelong player myself. I never want to really try my hand at DMing. And if I was playing in a game like this, I would be out so fast. It's like somebody said in the comments, no D&D is better than bad D&D. Amen to that. Let's check out our next story. GM railroads so hard that I got kicked for insisting that I could speak a language provided by my race. Nah, that's not what it says in the book. Get out. Hello. I present to you all a story of one of the first campaigns of 5th edition that I ever played. This was close to 7 years ago, so the details are a bit fuzzy, but it sticks in my mind as one of the worst experiences that I have ever had. At that time, I was new to the game and playing online via Fantasy Grounds. Since I had just started playing, I hadn't found a group to be a part of, so I shopped around for a game that was currently accepting new players. I received a response to a forum post from a GM looking for players to join a game that she was starting. I excitedly accepted. I was invited to a private message board for players in the game and asked to create a character and backstory. The only limits were that the race had to be from the core rules, had to be able to pass for human, and couldn't be evil. No problem. I looked through the books and found the Aasimar in the Dungeon Master's Guide, and I asked if it would be okay to use that. I got the okay, and created a paladin who was of poor birth, but was adopted by nobles unable to have a child. In the backstory, it was decided that he had spent several years studying in the local temple, which is where his unusual lineage was revealed to him. This entire creation process involved the GM, and I took suggestions from her to better fit the setting. As a reward for fleshing out a good backstory, I was offered a starting magic item. Heyo, that's a damn good reward. I looked through the list and asked about a sword of wounding. I was denied since necrotic damage is evil, but I was offered a Holy Avenger instead, at level 3. At the time, I was too inexperienced to know how game-breaking this would be, but I soon learned. Eventually, the game began. There was not a single human in the party, which consisted of me, an elf, a dwarf, a half-elf, and a genasi. I paid that no heed. The initial session involved the party arriving in town and looking for an inn, as most starting sessions are wont to be. However, no NPC would tell us where to find such a place. What the hell? We started asking around, bewildered, and trying to figure out what the hell our GM, who happened to be an older woman, boomer generation or thereabouts, wanted us to do. This alone was frustrating, but was further agitated by the GM, who on more than one occasion flat out told a player, "No, you don't do that," or "You don't say that." Okay, boomer. When we did something or said something to an NPC that deviated from her plan, which still had us fumbling around trying to figure out what the hell to do next. We finally find the inn, which apparently was only an inn every once in a while. When they held arena combat in the basement, we were only allowed to stay there if we agreed to participate. So we shift to the mandatory combat, where an apparently imprisoned wizard is being used to animate several, 10 plus undead to fight us. This was apparently supposed to be really hard, but the GM forgot that she gave me a Holy Avenger. So I was just one-shotting anything that wandered in range. So yeah, problem solved. Other stuff happened, including the players being told that we couldn't continue to stay at the inn because it was only that one night. A botched encounter where she rolled a random HP on a pair of bandits that ended up with 3 HP combined, and another hour-long hunt for whatever fucking railroad tracks she wanted us on. Why not just sit down and write a book, okay? This GM obviously sees the agency of her players as a problem that she needs to overcome. Well, what the hell? Eventually we figured out what we were supposed to do and started walking up a road to a town where the actual adventure was supposed to start. We ended there, but we were encouraged to use the private message board as a sort of RP character chat between sessions. Several of us jumped at the chance to express our characters without being told what we can and can't do. We had already established that everyone was walking to the next town, and any of these conversations would basically be had en route. It was during this time that the elf player made a post to the effect of, "If anyone would like to have a civilized conversation, my character speaks Elvish," followed by a listing of his non-common languages. I took the opportunity to retort, "Well, if you really wish to speak nobly, I can speak Celestial," or something similar. The GM pounced on that, deleted my post, and PM'd me that I couldn't speak Celestial because I promised that my character would be passable as human. She also posted in public that I was mistaken and couldn't actually speak that language. When I protested, she said that I could speak it but not at will, and I wouldn't know that I was doing it. Like Harry Potter. Why does everything always circle back to Harry Potter, man? Goddamn, read another book. At this point, I had had enough of her taking any and all agency away from us and insisted. I have spent years studying in the temple. I'm a divine caster. I can speak Celestial. I was immediately banned and kicked because my actions weren't human enough. TLDR, railroading GM kicked me for deviating from the script and insisting that I could speak a language provided by a race that she approved. Edit 1. There have been a couple of posts regarding Rule 0. While in principle I do agree with this, I have been running 5th edition for 5 years now. There's also an expectation that once a GM signs off on a character, especially when they are as intimately involved in the character creation process as she was, all the traits and features are usable. Further, there's also the expectation that if something is to be disallowed, any stock feature removed from a character should be replaced with a feature of equal value. This was simply a case of a GM getting out of their depth and not paying attention to what they were signing off on and then regretting it later. Edit 2. I just want to clarify that the horror I'm trying to stress is not simply that I got banned over planning my feat over a language feature. It's that the incident was the last in a chain of similar incidents, where the GM repeatedly removed basic agency from the player characters for no reason and with no sound logic behind it. Yeah, just like I said earlier in the post, it seems to me like she doesn't want to sit down and play a game with people. She wants to have other people participate in the book that she is very obviously writing. I don't understand why characters have to pass as human when you've got like elf, dwarf. Like, they're obviously not human, dude. I guess we graciously did not get into the part in the story where that comes into play. I would just count my lucky stars that, okay, one bad session rather than 20 bad sessions where you're trying to arm wrestle the GM and have your way. Good, just ban me outright, that's fine. I can go find another session with a GM who actually wants to encourage agency and, you know, create some fun for the players. Really seems to me like she's taking a lot more time just writing out this rich and intricate world rather than, you know, looking at the fucking monster manual and realizing that the holy avenger that you gave the paladin is just gonna smite every undead that he comes across. And then she throws 10 undead at them in the first encounter and he's like, okay. Thanks for the experience, I guess. That's hilarious. Maybe just an inexperienced GM, but definitely somebody that needs to work on getting their shit on point before they pull other people into it. But yeah, we could pretty clearly see that that shit's a mess, so whatever. Bullet dodged. I hope you found a better game sometime afterwards. Let's do one more story. Video might run a little long, but that's fine with me. I hope it's fine with you. And let's jump into it. DM awkwardly comments on players' lifestyle choices. Ah, no, that's way beyond out of character talk, bro. You don't talk about your players as people. What the hell? Here's a short one. Maybe not too horrible, but it felt weird. I've discussed it with tabletop RPG friends because it stuck in my memory, and they agreed that this was pretty inappropriate. Well, I agree too, and I've only read the title. I had a game that I was involved with through Discord. That's not really relevant to this story. What is relevant was a pre-game chat that we were having. We were all new with one another, having met through a forum post, so getting to know one another was a fun experience. Meeting new people from other places during quarantine was, of course, very interesting for me. Getting little windows through their eyes, ironically, in a fashion that I wouldn't have had the ability to, despite having the freedom for, if there was no pandemic. Now, this was advertised as an LGBTQ+ friendly game, and also a game with a zero tolerance policy for discrimination of any kind, which I absolutely have no problem with. Just to illustrate, I was, in another game, adopted as a gay player's support himbo. Which I'm only too glad to be and continue to serve as to this day. Back to this game, that is the subject of the matter. It occurred to the players that most ran the entire spectrum of the LGBTQ+ community. It got to a point right before our third session where one of the players asked, "Is anyone here even cis?" I answered, "I am," in the same tone that I would use if there was a teacher assigning groups in class and then asking people of a specific group to raise their hand. Immediately, the players responded with, well, we were bound to run into one. Oh, good, he's a cool dude. You can be our token straight boy." Which was all in good fun. Then the DM says, in a beat of blank airtime, "I don't approve of your life choices." Oh, the irony. I realized in hindsight a few minutes later, the DM might have been making either an off-color joke or perhaps finding a way to lash out for some unspoken inequity that she had experienced in her life. But initially, I was just shocked to hear her say something so intolerant that the LGBTQ+ community at large has been, is, and probably will be exposed to. Especially coming from a DM who advertised a zero tolerance policy for discrimination of any kind in her game. The cadence, if it was a joke, was not delivered well enough to inform us that it was a joke, and there were an awkward few moments of silence. In reply, all I said was, "Well, I approve of everyone's." We then hard changed the subject into a game to what felt like everyone's relief. Anyways, things went swimmingly after that for a few more sessions, and the table eventually did split due to regular game reasons, schedule, timing, life, etc. The DM did invite us all to a community server in case we were to try and pick up some other tables that her and her friends were running, or if we wanted to try and run our own, so there was no bad blood, just an ironically off-color and exceedingly awkward moment. Honestly, I do think that OP might be correct in the assumption that it was a joke. Even if it was delivered poorly, okay, it's a joke. We're just having a little bit of fun here. And then afterwards, you got invited to their community and all this stuff. So yeah, I don't think there was actually any bad blood. As far as whether or not it was appropriate, I mean, the DM sets the pace for the table, don't they? Maybe they're just trying to give you a little bit of their flavor, some of their kind of humor, you know? I've made some very dark jokes on this channel. So yeah, I probably would have taken it in stride, but I do kind of understand OP getting blindsided by it since he's going in there with an open mind and trying to be as nice as possible to everybody who has a different outlook than he does. And then this DM comes in and kind of starts working blue a little bit, you know? So yeah, I don't know 100% if it fits into RPG horror stories or even necessarily this quote-unquote bad DM video, you know? But it is a nice way to end things, you know? Kind of light and fluffy on the outside, but with a hard, dark center. Kind of similar to the construction of my own human form. But I do hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you did, I hope that you like, comment, and or subscribe on the video. Maybe share it around if you should like. I'm still trying to find my niche for these RPG horror stories, you know what I mean? I tried the not safe for work ones. I've tried to find more Neckbeard / that guy related ones, and here's some DM stuff. So if you are well versed in the ReddX RPG horror stories videos, then perhaps you can let me know your thoughts on which one you prefer the most. And of course, I also hope that you'll check out those links down in the description. There's a lot of plugs and social medias and stuff. And of course, my gorgeous, wonderful, beautiful, generous patrons. And I would like to thank them as always. So thank you very much. Calvicus, Fatboy Shrimp, Robert Waits, TSM Kirby, Teddy the Police, USMC 8932, Aaron W, Delicious Jelly Donut, Candy Sora, Fire Drake, Livison, Silent Revolver, Zero MMX, Magdalene, Marshall Thornrose, Little Lone Wolf, Vanilla Mel, Roustauer, Babsy Coon, Caustic Fox, Aaron Lennox, Fisher Diggy, High Pat Japan, OG James Cook, JM Coon, Jerry, John Hero, KK, Miss Monday, Melgar the Destroyer, Mirthful Baker, Mr. J, my boy Nat One Nick, Lady Nix, Origami Steve, Katykins and Elizabeth, Sidestep, Cider Drinker, Serrated Ash, Siegfried, Ellie, Synaptic Boomstick, Brilliant Tamago, Tato Ferret, 10-Ton Monster, That Duck and Bug, Fusky, Treeberg, Wilmags, Redwind, Goose says honk! Leon Embers, Naga Viper, John Indoors, A Normal Joe, A Roxers, Cake Jerry, that's a different Jerry. Crafty Kitty Cat, Mark 211, maybe next time, Milk Fed Gimp, Miss Duchess, Origami Cam, Princess Rosalie, Ghosty, the Last Shinobi, and the Maestro himself, Zuka Cervantes. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel in the way that you do. It is hugely appreciated. I do hope that some other people will consider joining up on the Patreon. We got some nice rewards over there. But if you can't do it right now, don't sweat it too hard, friends. The most important thing is that you took a chunk of your day, spent it with me, enjoying some delicious cringe, and I hope that you'll come back and do the same thing again tomorrow. In order to do so, you need to keep yourself safe out there, wash your hands, but also take some time out and do something that you personally enjoy today, like watching some more ReddX videos. The Neckbeard one's especially tasty. Always remember, friends, that you are loved, you are worthy, and you definitely deserve it. I will see you in the next one. And until then, bye-bye.